Hi, everybody. I'm Brittany Lewis with Forbes Breaking News. Joining me now is Freedom from Religion Foundation's Deputy Legal Director, Elizabeth Cavell. Elizabeth, thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you for having me.
A new law in Louisiana will require all public schools to display the 10 Commandments beginning in 2025. So we're going to break this law down, but before we do, what is your reaction?
Well, my reaction is that this law is blatantly unconstitutional and it's just wrong.
I want to talk about the unconstitutionality of it because separation of church and state is the establishment clause of the First Amendment. So is this a cut and dry case?
Well, it should be. This should be an easy case. If the courts follow clearly established precedent, requiring the posting of the 10 Commandments in every single public school classroom in the state is a clear violation of the First Amendment. There's been a case on exactly this issue in the past at the Supreme Court, and federal courts have uniformly upheld the separation of church and state in our public schools.
Louisiana is the first state in the country to pass this type of legislation. What do you think is the broader implication here now that it has passed?
Well, I think it's a troubling trend towards pushing the boundaries of greater and greater mix between religion and government. And I think that the state of Louisiana is counting on the courts to ignore past cases and to kind of forge a new path and allow greater mixing between religion and government in our public schools, which again has never been done before, and for good reason.
State Representative from Louisiana, Lauren Ventrella, she's a Republican. She's one of the co-authors of the legislation. She said this on CNN, quote, "I got a dollar bill in my wallet. In God we trust is written on that dollar. It is not forcing anybody to believe one viewpoint. It's merely posting a historical reference on the wall for students to read and interpret if they choose." What do you make of her argument?
Well, I think it's disingenuous on a few counts. Number one, the idea that somehow it's voluntary, it just ignores just egregiously the coercive environment that is a public school classroom. We're not talking about a dollar bill in your pocket. We're talking about the 10 Commandments, one religious sect's holy laws, posted on every single classroom wall in the entire state of Louisiana. That's kindergarten classrooms, that's first grade classrooms, that's college classrooms, that's every single classroom's walls. So students don't have a choice. They have to be confronted with the 10 Commandments if they want to go to public school, which is their right. And by the way, their obligation under law. They're a captive audience. So there's no equivalency between "In God We Trust" on our dollars and posting the 10 Commandments in every single public school classroom.
To your point about students don't have a choice, when she was on CNN later in the interview, the interviewer asked her, "What do you say to parents essentially and students that don't believe this?" And she said, "Don't look at it." What do you make of that?
That breaks my heart because public schools should be, and I would hope that our elected officials, in Louisiana's elected officials, feel this way. Public schools should be a place that's for all children, not just the children that agree with the religion of the lawmakers. It should be a place where every kindergartner feels welcome and doesn't have to feel like an outsider. And doing this, it's almost like that lawmaker is acknowledging that posting the 10 Commandments in every single classroom is going to make outsiders of some students, but she doesn't care. They can just look away.
The Freedom from Religion Foundation's partnering with the ACLU to file a lawsuit challenging this legislation. Can you talk to us a little bit about the legal efforts here?
So this will be a coalition effort, meaning multiple organizations will be joining in the lawsuit. It hasn't been filed yet, but it will be filed soon. And I know that there is a wide coalition of groups and individuals representing, by the way, Louisiana parents, students, and families who are going to be made second-class citizens in their public schools by virtue of this law. And so I know the coalition is ready and feels strongly about the legal standing that the lawsuit has, and are looking forward to representing the rights and the views of Louisiana families that are going to be harmed by this law.
Before he signed this bill into law, the Louisiana governor said that he couldn't wait to be sued, reportedly. What do you make of that?
Again, in my view, that's a pretty irresponsible view for an elected official. I think there are better ways to use taxpayer dollars than to deliberately try to get sued. But here's what he means by that. He is counting on the courts to do his bidding and to overturn decades of established precedent and further allow religious coercion in our public schools. That's what he means by that. He's eager to, even though he knows that the state is violating the law or the established law by passing this bill, he knows, or he thinks, that the courts will back him up. And he's excited to be sued because, of course, this is a, political culture war issue that I think a lot of politicians like to signal with. But the reality is there are students and families on the other side of this law that are going to be harmed, that are going to be alienated, that are going to be made into outsiders or bullied or worse because the governor and the legislature of Louisiana are trying to make a point or trying to get sued. Whatever the motivation is there are students who are going to be harmed, and that's not anybody's idea of good lawmaking.
Can you talk to us a little bit about some of those harms? Because 2025, when this would go into effect, is in just 6 months. It would be the next school year.
That's right. So like you said, this law mandates that starting this next school year, every single school classroom must post the 10 Commandments. And the harm is that as everyone, all kids, K through 12 through college, go back to school this fall, they're going to be faced when they walk into their classrooms with the 10 Commandments. I am the Lord thy God. You must worship me. You can't commit idolatry. You must observe the Sabbath. These are religious commandments. They're holy laws. And not every student by a long shot in Louisiana, in every single parish, in every single school, in every single classroom, shares those religious beliefs. Students are going to be confused. They're going to be alienated. And religion is going to do what it often does, which is create divisions and bullying and second-class citizens, and in the place that's supposed to be safe for all of our kids, which is our public schools.
I know that this bill was just signed into law this week. The Freedom from Religion Foundation and the ACLU didn't file their suit yet, but what's next in your legal fight?
Well, like I said, the lawsuit is imminent. It will be filed soon, probably as soon as next week. But regardless, the students and families in Louisiana who are not only non-religious, but who belong to minority religions, or who are Christians who belong to another sect that maybe doesn't agree with this particular version, by the way, being edited and drafted by the Louisiana legislature. This is a wide coalition of Louisianans, families, students, parents, who are fighting for their right to freedom of conscience and to have access to public schools and have their students have access to public education free from religious coercion. That's the right of every American, including in Louisiana. And so we're looking forward to fighting for those Louisianans and fighting for the right of every kid to enjoy a public education that doesn't involve religious coercion, that is safe, that is welcoming.
Elizabeth Cavell, thank you so much for your time. And as this develops, I hope you come back on and join me.